Hi, my name's Nikki. I'm the Obsessive Bookseller, and welcome to the Sunday Shelfie series on my channel. Today we are on week 4 of 7 for my unread collection, and I'm really loving going through all of these unread books. There are so many things in there that I'm like, ooh, I must move that up the priority list a little bit as we discuss it. I love all the comments that you're giving me, indicating which ones you think I should pick up first, and just general feedback on these series because I know nothing about a lot of them. I don't pick up the back of the book and read it. I don't want to be spoiled on anything. So all I know about most of them is either I've heard good things about the author or the series, I like the way the cover looks, or I've just had it for so long that I don't even know why it's still on my shelves, but I can't bear to part with it. So anyway, for all these things, thank you so much for your feedback. If you see anything as I'm going through that you think I need to read ASAP, please let me know. If you're new to this series, I will link the playlist in the description below. But other than that, let's go look at the books. So my makeshift tripod is a little rocking chair footstool, so hopefully it doesn't move around too much while I'm reaching for stuff. But the first thing I've got here are a couple of books in the Beldam Apocrypha series by Cameron Hurley. I've read the Mirror Empire book by her. I haven't continued that series yet, but I loved it so much that I immediately went and found other books by this author and added them to my collection. She completely challenges the status quo. I love her creativity, I love her world building, and I can't wait to see more from her. And that was a fantasy series, whereas these are sci-fi, so I'm all over that. Can't wait. And then I have several in the Stardock series by S.L. Veal. I mentioned these in my Red collection. She operates on aliens for a living, and the medical jargon isn't overwhelming, and it's so much fun to see all of the different biological creations, which actually have to make sense because you're getting down to the nitty-gritty of what makes each being operate, and it is so cool. Despite the fact that the series has some very real problems with things like sexual consent, and sometimes the plots don't always make a lot of sense, I've read 2 of them so far, and the creativity with the world building in regard to the aliens is enough to keep me coming back even if other things in the story aren't working for me. So it's one of those I can't really recommend very highly, but personally, I'm quite enjoying. Next, Darkness Hunts. It's an ARC that I won from the author and got it signed, which is pretty darn cool. She sent it with a book plate. And it came a little stained. I have since read the first 2 books in this series and decided that it is just not for me. I may eventually finish it out just to see if it gets any better, but it is definitely down the priority list. But having something signed from an author who I loved a couple things from is still pretty cool. And then I have, I think, book 3 in the Winds of Calicovo. It's a really cool looking fantasy series that I'm hoping has a lot of interesting world building. I love the cover for it. The first one, not necessarily this one. And it's one of those I've been eyeballing to start lately. I really didn't care for the first Shattered Sands book, but there were enough good elements that I'm willing to give this author another try. And I thought this was a continuation for this, but I think it's a different series altogether. Lays of Anuskaya. Skaya? Yeah, I totally need to do some research on that because it sounds like a different series altogether. Maybe not? See, they put a frickin' sticker in front of it, so I can't tell. One moment, please. Nope, okay. Thank you to the inside of the book. That is book 3 in the Winds of Calicovo. And this is book 2. I thought I had 2 different series there. Great, I'm all set. I just need the first one. Okay, I picked these up because I thought the covers were absolutely gorgeous. It's an urban fantasy, it's vampire focused. I read this first one. I have it over here because I'd have to reread it to continue the series because I don't remember much about it, but it was during the time when I was trying at least one book from each urban fantasy on my radar, and this one was Not the best one that I read, but still pretty darn good, near the top. And the author has gotten incredibly prolific since I first picked this one up. And so I'm hoping to go back and reread. This is one of those cases where really good marketing can sell books, because I went and bought all of them with the covers on them. Yeah, I don't know, just think that's pretty darn cool. And then I have 2 books in the Legends of Riftwar by Raymond E. Feist, and a couple of accompanying authors for each book. This is the only thing from the original Riftwar world that I haven't read, and I know I've gotten a few comments that this one in particular was quite good, so I am looking forward to getting to those, especially considering how disappointed I've been with the author in general lately for all of his new stuff. Next shelf, this is actually the 3rd book to a series I talked about last week. These ones here. So I won't go into that too much today, but nice to know I have the whole set. Then I have the Heir of Autumn and a couple of other books in this random trilogy here. I don't know anything about this series other than I think the covers are kind of cool. And I don't know, it's one of those ones where I'm hoping, especially if it's co-written, like 2 minds in on this series, that it's going to be really good. But let me know if you've read this one. It's kind of a off-the-wall. It says, a well-developed sword and sorcery world. A powerful story. Whatever that means. And then we have a collection of Laurel K. Hamilton books that I got on bargain. And I am thinking I might revisit this author at some point. I really loved the first 5 or 6 Anita Blake novels. I thought they were really cool, very well written. The author has a strong voice, a good writing style, and then she kind of went off the rails with it a little bit. And I think these are 2 different series here. I've got a couple Meredith Gentry and then a few Anita Blake. Couldn't tell you which was which, but yeah. Hoping to get back to her at some point. I've kept the hardcovers even though she's not a favorite, just because, you know, you don't throw out good hardcovers for no good reason. And then Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. I keep almost buying the rest of the books in this series in hardcover because I think they are really pretty, but I have seen mixed reviews on this one, and I'm just not sure if it's something I'm gonna like. I'm willing to give it a try, but I feel like I should probably read them before I collect more in the series. So, yeah, this one has been on my radar for quite a while. And then Swords of Riverside by Ellen Kushner. This is a 2-in-1 compilation starting with Sword Point. I mean, I'm kind of getting Three Musketeers vibes. It's a story that I've wanted to try for a while, I just haven't made time for, but I think the compilation is kind of cool. And then on another shelf, I pointed out that I had a book called Caravans. This is book number 2. Something about the artwork I really like. I think I love the ones where there's like forced perspective. It reminds me of some of the Dritz books, which honestly could be totally the same artist and I wouldn't know. I'll look into that. But anyway, since I have Caravans on a different shelf, I'm going to go ahead and move that up today. Blood of an Exile. Another one I've heard mixed reviews on, but I'd like to try. This is a relatively new series. I found the second one on bargain as well as this first one here. The second one I've got in a pile ready to be filmed for a book haul. Spoiler alert. But yeah, I've been interested in this one. I don't know, it seems in the same vein of the type of fantasy that I've been reading and loving lately. And then more Carol Berg. I really need to get to this woman because she has such a vast array of titles and I feel like I'm going to like all of them. I just have a feeling. And that feeling was reinforced by people saying they really love her series. And these are Luis Royo covers, which I love. So yeah, hoping to get to that one soon. Patricia Reed. I love this author. She wrote the Enchanted Forest Chronicles. They're very short. They're very charming. I highly recommend them. So much fun. This is the compilation of 2 books. Merlion the Magician and The Magician's Ward, and anything to do with learning magic is totally my jam. So I'm hoping a combination of me loving the writer and the subject matter. I feel like this is a match made in heaven. We shall see. Simon Green. Okay, so short story long. I recently read this author's The Best Thing You Can Steal. I have a review for it. I did not care for it at all. The story just frustrated me to no end, but I did like the writing. Like, the basic writing was good, and you could tell it was from a practiced author. And weirdly enough, when I picked that one up, I actually thought I was reading a Glenn Cook book, because I get the two names mixed up. I am not sure why. So when I finished that one and realized, no, it was not a Glenn Cook, it was a Simon Green, I realized, oh, I have more of those. So these are the tales of Hawk and Fisher. I love duo companions, especially like a male and female hodgepodge. I think that makes for some fun dynamics. So I'm willing to give this author another try, because the problems I had were with the plot specifically, and the plot for each series is totally different. And then I picked this one up because I thought the cover was pretty cool. I think it's a standalone, but yeah. Interested in getting to him eventually. The wind is a little bit out of my sails, but like I said, I'm not holding against him for too long. The Summer Dragon by Todd Lockwood. I would have already read this book had there been any news of a sequel being worked on. I hear it's not as awesome as it looks, like it's just kind of a meh, pretty good story. No one's singing its praises yet, but I have a special place in my heart for books about dragons, and if that element is done really well, I can forgive a lot of other things, so maybe this one may have been written for me. I'm not sure. I think I have it on audio too. Ooh. So I need to get to it sooner than later. Okay, this shelf, we have a couple more R.A. Salvatore books, and I believe these are continuation to the Demon War saga. Ah, yes. Probably next generational. I hear they are really good. I just have not made time to continue the series. The second one suffered from that like classic fantasy kind of meandering without a purpose thing, and I just got fed up with it. But like I said, I love the author. He's doing amazing things now. Eventually I may go back and read the backlist, but I'm not in any super hurry. Then Elizabeth Moon, another author I have a bunch of books from but haven't tried yet. This is one of her newest ones, and I think it's kind of a sci-fi. And yeah, I got this one on bargain. Have been looking forward to trying that soon. A couple of Mercedes Lackey. I really hate these covers. Probably one of the reasons I haven't prioritized this author more is because cover appeal really does do something for me. And I know there's like a place in some people's hearts for these ones, but I just can't get aboard it. I'm also intimidated by the sheer number of books in this Vladimir world, if I'm even saying that right. And I do like a sense of continuity, so I just haven't made time to figure out when and where you're supposed to start, and probably won't for a really long time. And then during an earlier Sunday Shelfie, I moved a couple of Lawrence Watt Evans self-published down here to match everything else. It's the Misenchanted Sword series, and I liked the author enough that I was willing to pick up these like hideously ugly self-published titles. And then someone commented and said, hey, I have those in TradPub. And I went, what? You mean I've been hanging on to these ugly covers for no reason, like they actually exist in a traditionally published format? That's a joke. Anyway, one of my favorite writers, kind of in line with the relaxed, flowing amazingness that is Daniel Abraham. They give me sort of the similar feel, although Daniel Abraham's characterization is like on another world, so literally. Anyway, I will get to those eventually. Patricia Bray, I had her on a couple of other shelves. This one is The First Betrayal. It might be a standalone, I'm not sure, but I feel like this author and I are really going to get along. A couple of urban fantasy books by Phaedra Weldon. the Zoe Martinique investigation novels, which of all the urban fantasies I haven't read yet, these ones seem darker than the rest of them. I don't know if that's the case, but that's the vibe they're giving off. So I'm hopeful that when I'm in the mood for something a little grittier, that those will fit the bill. A Marie Brennan novel called Daughter of the Desert. I think I'm drawn to desert-themed stories. Anything with an exotic world-building element really gets me, so I'm hoping that, if nothing else, I'll like the world-building in that one. Then this one doesn't have a cover, but it's called Reign of Shadows, the Ruby Throne Trilogy. One of those random titles I picked up as a bookseller that I'm hoping is pretty good, but I've never heard anybody else talk about, so it's hard to say. And then Sarah Ash, these don't have covers, but I think they go along with a series I mentioned, Lord of Snow and Shadows, in a previous video. So I'm going to go ahead and move those up there now to go with the other ones. Had I been thinking before I started this series, I would have organized them like perfectly first. So I'm having to let go a bit of perfectionism and to just kind of work with what I got, because I have them in here by priority, but that means that series are kind of split up because I was just throwing them on the shelves in roughly where I think they'd go. Anyway, so Mercedes Lackey, I call this one the Winds Trilogy. I think I only have 2 of them. And really, I have no idea where to start. I've read the Dragon Jousters, the first 3 of the Last Herald Mage, and then I read the Griffin one and really didn't like that, and I read and loved her YA Hunter series. But beyond that, I have no idea which ones to pick up next. I think I have most of them on my shelves. I prided myself as having collected all of them at one point in my life, but now I'm overwhelmed. So if you love Mercedes Lackey, which one should I pick up next? And there are a few things on this next shelf that I'm actually quite excited to read. So, Endurance and Kalimpura. I picked these 2 up on my recent massive book haul trek or whatever, and I've always loved the cover to the first book in this series, green. So cool. Seems like something I would really enjoy, and major kudos to the marketing department because these covers really work for me. I love how vibrant and colorful they are, so I'm hoping to get to those eventually. This book, I swear, follows me. I see it everywhere. Legends of the Dragon Realm. And it's one of those I think I should like, but every time I look at it, I think, I'm just not in the mood to read that. I don't know what it is about it. You can see I picked it up for like $4. That's pretty cool. But yeah, it just seems like it's going to be one of those very typical sword against a dragon type of quest. And I've read a lot of those. So let me know if you liked that one. And McCaffrey's All the Wares of Pern. To me, this specific cover art is quintessential Anne McCaffrey, Michael Whelan combination, and it's my favorite artwork from everything they've done. And I don't know one whit about where this book falls in the series, but I bought it because I love the cover art, and I think it's so cool. So that one was for the mini collector in me and not necessarily the reader. Jack Vance, The Demon Princes. This is a compilation. The first book in there is The Star King. I've seen Jack Vance around. I know a couple people mentioned it when I talk about sci-fi as like a pretty good author, but I just haven't read anything from him yet. I actually didn't even remember that I had this compilation. So when I'm in the mood for some good classic sci-fi, there we go. In the Eye of Heaven by David Keck. Know absolutely nothing about it. I'm just noticing it has a cover quote from Jacqueline Carey, so that kind of bodes well. But I don't even know if this one is a series or a standalone. I've never seen anything else with it. Back when I was collecting books just for the sake of collecting to always have them, when I found one of a title, I usually went and tried to find the rest of the series so I'd at least have them. And either nothing else was out for this, or I wasn't interested enough in it to keep it. But Sarah Douglas is such an odd author. Her stories are so weird. but not in a bad way. Just in you kind of have to be in the right mood for them. And this is the first book in her Troy Games series. You can see I've got all 4 of them here. And I hope I like these. I know I like her writing style. I've collected these because the covers are by Luis Royo, whom I love. And so, if I like them, it's going to be a really great addition to my collection. If not, then I might keep them anyway, just because I like the covers. I'm not big on historical retellings, but I think this one gives me very, like, Roman Empire or whatever, and then, like, to a more modern day. So that aspect of it has me intrigued, but other than that, I don't know much about it. I know we're getting close to the end. A couple of random urban fantasies here. This one's called Spellbent by Lucy Snyder. Then we have Dark Storm by Chris Green. They're probably actually candidates for unhauling. I just have so many more appealing urban fantasies on my lineup, but we'll see. Then I also have Death's Daughter by Amber Benson, who I believe is an actress, and so right there it's a bit off-putting. I know they think like celebrity names tied to books is a good thing, but usually the quality of the writing suffers because they're not writers first, you know? That's not their day job, so it's just something fanciful that they like to do. But I'm willing to give it a try. At least I have all 3 of them. And then my unread Raxura books by Martha Wells. If you want alien world building with amazing flora and fauna and a totally non-human main character, this is a cool series. I thought the writing style was good, nowhere near as good as the Murderbot stuff, but still like very solid. I liked it, but I didn't find myself particularly connected to it. It was one of those really beautiful things that I'm glad I got to experience, but I wasn't really that engaged by the overall drama of the plot. So eventually I'd like to get back to the series, but I'm in no hurry. And then another Terry Goodkind hardcover, War Heart. Picked it up on bargain during my last book trek, and yeah, figured if I was going to have all of the books in the series, I may as well complete the collection. As a hideous cover. And that is it for this week's Sunday Shelfie. And in fact, let me give you a little overview of what we've got coming up next. So we have 2 shelves left, but then I have this hodgepodge of books that are just kind of stacked in front. Same with up at the very top there. So what I might do is 1 week per each of those rows of shelves, and then spend a week on all of these odds and ends, because I don't want each video to be a half an hour long as I try to rearrange as I go. And then we'll start working our way up the shelves there. Yeah, I think that's probably what I'll do. I am having the worst luck. So, like, at the end of that video, I just finished filming everything, and I grabbed my phone, and where's the microphone? Where's the little thing that plugs into the phone? It vanished. I had it. I went from point A to point B. I filmed. It was there when I started. It was in the way of my hand, and now it is completely gone. So if the audio has suffered, this is like the 5th or 6th problem in a row that I've had with it, and it's just because I can't get my shit together. So I apologize if the audio is weird. I've got my other little mic right here. I've been talking into it just like I'm supposed to. Whatever. These are the types of things that I never thought I would be worrying about. But yes, hopefully I find the other half of my mic. Ah, I see it. I must have lost it when my makeshift tripod went kaput. Holy crap. Thank you so much for joining me on this Sunday Shelfie tour, and I hope to catch you next week. Bye.